All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you live tonight to preview our Thursday night football matchup against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle tomorrow night. Playing in primetime, it's always a big deal. Playing in primetime against a division rival who you are battling for the number one seed with, who is also 11 and 3, Jake. Pretty intense. It's being called, the game of the week already, even though it's the first game of the week, on Thursday Night Football. But I mean, these are the two best teams in the NFC, according to, I think, the majority of football fans right now. I mean, we are if both of these teams play to their full potential, we are in for an absolute treat tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. And obviously, as Rams fans, we are hoping it goes the Rams' way. We were able to get the win over Seattle earlier in the season in Los Angeles. I mean, the Rams were able to basically, we won by 3 points. There was a missed kick at the end by Seattle, and it was crazy. It was just a crazy game. It was an intense game. The Rams ended up forcing 4 interceptions, right, with Sam Darnold. So they'll be looking to obviously pressure Sam Darnold going into Thursday night again. But you know what, Jake, it's going to be intense. I'm laughing, at the some of the comments right now. People are talking about how I'm going to be drunk tomorrow night watching the game. I typically don't drink during Rams games. I did against Detroit though. I did have a festive eggnog drink. I will own up to that. So that was really fun. But Jake, going into Thursday night football, I mean, the stakes are so high for the Rams right now. They did secure a playoff spot, which is good. So we know that we're in the playoffs, but the battle for the number one seed is intense. And we're not only fighting for the number one seed, just obviously against other people in the NFC, we're fighting for the number one seed against two teams really in the NFC West. I mean, we're in it. The Seahawks are in it. The 49ers are theoretically in it. I mean, there's a lot on the line for the Rams right now if they want to get that number one seed, which they do. So, looking at this matchup Thursday night, what's your vibe, Jake, going into this tomorrow night?
I feel good about this game. I know Brandon Perna, who is a pretty big football YouTuber. He apparently cursed the Rams. I know you're into the dark magic and all of that stuff.
Curse, schmurse, I can reverse it.
All right, well, we're gonna need you to reverse it because apparently Brandon Perna's curses are legit. He didn't do it on purpose. He just basically, tilts a wheel and it lands on a team. And I guess the last time, I've never watched it before, but I guess the last time he did it 5 times in a row, the Colts lost all 5 games. Seattle has never won when they have been cursed. So I don't know. What I will say is I don't care about no curse. I don't care about any, I just believe in football is going to prevail. And at the end of the day, the big thing coming in this game and why I'm so confident is that the Rams have they have the better running game. They push in terms of run defense. So, I still think the better running game will prevail. They have the better quarterback. They have the better head coach. And the red zone offense, when it comes down to, I mean, Seattle is a bottom, I won't say bottom. They're about league average in terms of red zone efficiency. Lately, not so much, probably bottom 5 the last 3 games. The Rams are top 3. And really, once they fixed that offense in the red zone, and we remember it was about week 7, I would say, against Jacksonville when you really started to notice it, they have been number 1, and it hasn't been remotely close. So I think those things, all things concerned, I think the Rams, should be able to get the job done, but it's going to be a really, really tough game. And these are the two best teams in the NFL, not just the NFC, in the NFL. I've watched the league this year. Bo Nix has been impressive, and the Broncos have been impressive, but they also haven't played anybody. And when they do, I mean, it's a close game. Below 400, strength of schedule. Same with the Patriots. So, yeah, it's one of those seasons, Alexis, where I think a lot of people say, oh, it's anybody's game and everything is up in the air. But when I watch, I mean, I really feel like it's really just the Rams. And then I think there's there's a margin. I won't say it's like significant, but there's a margin between the Rams and Seahawks. But I think those are the two best teams. And then there's a huge, wide gap between these two teams and the next team. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I agree. In my opinion, these are the two best teams, not just in the NFC, but in the NFL. So, we're in agreement there. But Jake, looking at kind of what happened in that first game, and let's start by talking about the Rams offense. Because, you look at what happened when we played Seattle earlier this season. I mean, Kyron Williams dominated on the ground, right? If everybody remembers, I mean, he went for I'm drawing a blank here. I had it written down. Was it
12
like,
carries, 91 yards,
well, in the
94.
first half, he had what, 75 yards or something
Yeah,
crazy? He
something
had
like
almost
that.
80 yards, in the first half, and he was just having his way kind of with Seattle's defense. And McVay completely abandoned the run that game, which it was something I think after the game he acknowledged, we acknowledged, and since then, we've run the ball more. This was before we were doing kind of more of a, 60-40 split, right, with Kyron and Blake. This was back when, you were seeing Kyron get kind of like 75% of the snaps. So now that we've kind of progressed in the run game and we've kind of diversified that and we've, gotten Core more involved, I do think that the Rams are going to run the ball more. I think that, when you see the success that our run game has had just in general as the season's gone on, and then you look back at kind of the failure to be consistent with the run game against Seattle the first time, that is a very good Seahawks defense. I think that's very fair to say. But for whatever reason, we were able to run the ball pretty easily against them, right? So I think that that should be the point of emphasis, especially in the conditions on Thursday night. For anybody who's not aware, it is supposed to just absolutely pour down rain. It's Seattle, it's the rainy city, so shocker, but it is going to rain quite significantly on Thursday night. So I think that they should stick with the run game, at least try to get something developed there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Jake. But for me, I think when I look at my key to success in beating Seattle's defense right now, it's going to be to lean on the run game. And then if you can establish something in the run game, try to get the ball down the field, right? We know that Adams is doubtful for Thursday night, but try to get the ball to Puka, maybe get Mumpfield involved. Look at your tight ends, right? And running 13 personnel. What do you think the Rams' game plan is going to be offensively?
Yeah, I think offensively, they're going to have to run the football, and I think Sean McVay will do that. But it's also Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford having an arm that can kind of tear through cold wind in the rain, and that's something that Stafford can do. I think you go back to Week 15 last year against the San Francisco 49ers. It was a cold, windy and rainy game. Brock Purdy versus Matthew Stafford. Neither quarterback looked great, but people forget Matthew Stafford was dealing with cracked ribs. That's the difference. So, I think you go back to the last time these two played in like legitimate pouring rain, and that was between McVay and McDonald. And the last time that happened was 2023 against the Ravens. And they threw it all over the yard. But they started off with 9 straight runs with Kyron Williams against the number 1 run defense. And, I feel like Seattle's kind of that. So you say what you will, but I think they're going to try and run the football early on. And if they can establish the run, that means play action will be there. And if they have play action, then they really can run the offense however they want. I think not having Devontae Adams is going to sting, obviously. But at the same time, it's going to force the Rams to not get cute in the red zone. And that's been something, I think we saw it this past week against the Lions. I mean, how many times were they just trying to get, hate to say it, but how many times did it feel like they were just trying to get Matthew Stafford another passing touchdown when, Kyron Williams is automatic? It's like, it's like LeBron James laying it in. I mean, it's a layup for Kyron. It's simple. Like, why even... don't mess with it. It's why like you're down 1 and you're passing out of a layup to go to a 3-pointer in the corner. Like, he might hit it, but you have the layup. It's like, well, what's the point? So, yeah, I do think as great as Adams has been in the red zone, he's been phenomenal. They got very cute with that I thought against the Cardinals to an extent, and I think we really saw it against the Lions. So it forces the Rams to stay balanced. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I also just think, that kind of one-on-one isolation with Devonte Adams in the red zone, as great as it's been, you can only do it so many times before you line up like that, and then teams are like, okay, they do this every single time. It takes the mystique out of it a little bit, and like you said, I think we started to see that with Arizona and Detroit, where teams are kind of like, all right, we know what's happening here. And yeah, I think just like Kyron Williams, put him in if you're at the 1 yard line or wherever you are. Don't get cute with it. I think that they are going to. I expect that the Rams are going to run it more in the red zone against Seattle. I think that they hopefully have kind of seen that, how many times have we seen the past two games where they do three straight passing plays, it doesn't work, and then you put in Kyron and he gets it in. It's like you could have just done that on first down, you
Kyron ran
know?
29 times last year against the 49ers on week 15 in the pouring rain. And
Yeah.
Corum actually ran 3 times in that game. So they ran 32 times, Alexis. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, they can certainly do that, against Seattle. And, as we talked about earlier, this, when Kyron had 91 yards against Seattle, and this was, before they were really splitting carries. I think Corum, he had eight. I'm seeing that he had 8 carries against Seattle that game, and I think he struggled a little bit that game, but I don't know that that was necessarily on him. I mean, if you remember when we covered this, they were trying to use him in a lot of inside runs that I don't think that they're going to do this time. He's so good on the outside, and I think they kind of were just seeing what could happen with him on the inside that game. But now that you've figured out how to run Kyron versus how to run Blake, I mean, there's a very real chance that they could just run all over Seattle the entire game. Like I
Oh,
wouldn't be
absolutely.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams started running the ball, and if it's efficient, they just let them have a day. Really, I see no
Yeah.
reason that that couldn't happen. But also, if
Yeah.
they can have a balanced offense against this defense and try to keep them on their toes, by all means. But whatever it takes to win, right? And especially in the conditions. So I think we're on the same page, offensively, and with Devonte Adams being out. People are asking, who do you think is going to get involved? I think it's going to be Mumpfield, but I also think that we're going to see a lot more Tutu Atwell. We have to remember that we have Tutu Atwell back. We kind of saw him integrated in the offense, against Detroit. But again, Adams was in most of the game. But, if you lose somebody like our wide receiver too, and Devontae Adams, Tutu has the most familiarity with that offense. Mumfield, I think, is probably over time maybe going to take that role, but Atwell's been there longer, and I know that he just came back, but I think he's more of a reliable target for Matthew right now. Also, do not sleep on Terrence Ferguson. We saw them utilize him a lot versus Detroit. They are finally trying to get him involved, and I think he's out there more because he's started blocking better. And so now that he's, I think, comfortable in the blocking scheme, they've got Terrence Ferguson out there a lot more. And then obviously Colby Parkinson. I see someone in the chat talking about Colby Parkinson revenge game. Yes, he is a former Seahawk. So I think that, he's been involved regardless. I mean, he's going to be out there. They're going to be using him a lot. But I think if you guys are wondering what receiver is going to step up in Adams' absence, I think it's probably going to be Tutu Atwell. But don't be surprised to see Mumpfield get some more action as well. But before we move on to the defense, Jake, do you have any more thoughts on what we might see out of this offense tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point out that, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum are almost at 600 yards the last 4 games, and they
Yeah,
have a total of 8 touchdowns. So the reason
yeah,
why I bring up the last 4, that's since they played Seattle. I will continue to
yeah,
say this. Kyron is a better version than he was against Seattle, even when he played as well as he did. And the reason being is because he's fully in tune with his body. And what I mean by that, and I feel like the same thing goes with Blake Corum, is when you gain that weight, you put that weight on, you put that muscle on, you have to learn how to run with that. And that can take all year. Alexis, we've seen it before. I mean, I'm not going to use Eddie Lacy as an example. That's probably a really bad example. But there have been running backs in the past. I bring up Zeke Elliott, for instance, because they wanted him to add some more weight, and it took him a minute to actually be able to run with that. Kyron, it's always been kind of like, I think the whole year he's been getting better with it, but you really have started to see it in the last 3 games. Like he is fully comfortable, with his body. And then Blake Corum is the same thing. You're starting to see the cutbacks. You're starting to see the vision. So now all of a sudden the eyes are starting to really, line up and come in synchronicity, with the footwork. And that's always been a big thing. I mean, going back to Cam Akers, that's something he lacked, right? So you see Blake Corum, you see Kyron Williams, you see how they've both been able to learn and grow in their new body composition because they were different running backs last year. I mean, Kyron ran with power, but he didn't have the 8 to 10 pounds of muscle. And Blake Corum, I mean, he didn't have the speed that he has this year. He didn't have the elusiveness, and that, comes with the territory of losing weight. So, yeah, I think it's a big thing that isn't really talked about. But, going into this game, Seahawks fans will say, well, Blake Corum ran, 8 times for 7 yards. Like, we're not worried about Blake Corum. That's a completely different Blake Corum. I'm sorry, week 11 Blake Corum and week 16 Blake Corum, way different. Corum has the confidence. We're talking about a guy that could get over 800 yards this year. Kyron is already over 1,000 yards. I mean, this is the best run game in the league. I really feel confident saying that. They just kind of made Sonic and Knuckles, who look like a joke. I mean, they just absolutely looked better. And I think it kind of goes to show you. I mean, it's not necessarily just them, though. It's the offensive line, which we've talked about. It's become a well-oiled machine where, like I've said, and I mean no disrespect by this, but if you put Ronnie Rivers out there, we've already seen he'll get 5 yards per carry, right? Depending on who he's going up against. If you put Jarquez Hunter back there, I think he'd have a good day at the office. They have created a really, really good offensive line, and the pass protection's now coming together nicely with Warren McClendon only giving up 1 pressure last week to Aiden Hutchinson, and then he's only given up 7 pressures this year in 7 games. The same amount. Rob Havenstein, almost the same amount of snaps. Havenstein's given up 20 plus. So, I just think the Rams are just a better team. Havenstein played the last time they went up against the Seahawks as well, so that's something to keep in mind. And this is part of the thing. I mean, it's almost like, 49er fans acting like, oh, well, we beat Seattle early in the year. It's like, bro, if you think week 1 Seattle is the same team as week 16 Seattle, I don't even know what to tell you. So, that's kind of, my feeling going into this is that the Rams have grown and they've become a better team. And, I also felt like you give Seattle credit. The defense really did a nice job stopping that offense, but the Rams had a lot of meat left on that bone when it comes to running the football, and they just abandoned it. You and I talked about that.
Yeah, well, you bring up a lot of really good points there, especially like in the run game, and talking about Corum last game. I said this earlier, the Rams did not use him right when they played Seattle the first time. If you go back and watch that, he at that time, Corum is so good. Where he excels is on the outside. He's really, really good at making that cut and getting those outside runs. He's one of the best, it might be in the league, in my opinion, right now, at least at doing that, right? He's very good. And, I think the Rams, when we played Seattle, they were trying to, I think, see what they could get out of him on the inside. And I think at that time, he still was trying to figure out how to run those inside runs. And what he complements Kyron so well at and is, what he can do that Kyron, can't do as well as on those outside runs. I mean, Blake is so explosive. And then you see Kyron is he's able to absorb those hits in the middle, and he's able to make those quick cuts in the middle runs with those vision. And so I think the Rams have figured that out now. I think that they were trying at first to maybe see what they had and see how similar Kyron and Blake were to each other. And now I think they've figured out how to really complement them. So I think I think that we're going to see a lot better runs out of Corum this game against Seattle. So to your point, Seahawks fans saying they're not worried about Blake Corum. Well, the Rams aren't using Blake Corum the same way that they were trying to use him when we played you guys a few weeks ago. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. You talk about the weight as well. I think it was you who texted me because I had heard that they had Kyron put on a lot of weight, but watching it on TV, I didn't really notice that. And then was it you who texted me when you went to the first Rams game and you were like, this dude is like twice as big? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
And
was
then
like,
you,
yeah.
well, you texted that to me and I was like, I don't know, I guess. And then I had a lot of other people text me that and I was like, okay, maybe you were right. But he is. And I think that they did that so he could absorb those hits more in the middle, right?
It was
Because
to complement each other as
yeah,
well
it
because
was,
someone had to take this role and someone had to take this role because they were
yeah.
constantly hearing how they're the same running back.
Yeah, and now they're not because of that. You
Yeah.
see Corum is able to be a little bit thinner and explosive, and then, Kyron is able to bounce off people, I think, better than he was in previous seasons, which is good, right? Also injury wise, putting weight on as a running back at times, um, you just feel a little bit better. You've got some more muscle on there. The last thing you want is him to go in there and get hurt. Same with Corum. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that the Rams have figured out the formula for Kyron and Blake now. So it's been really, really fun to watch. And I think that there's a really big chance on Thursday night we're going to be able to see that at like level 15. So I'm excited about that. But Jake, let's talk about the defense going against the Seahawks offense. Because obviously the big story when we played Seattle the first time this season was the pressure on Sam Darnold, right? And we had talked about this when we were previewing that game, is we believe the key to winning was to pressure Sam Darnold. That ended up being true. Because listen, let's state the elephant in the room. The Rams forced 4 turnovers and still only won by 2 points, 3 points. So again, you can make the argument had Sam Darnold had one less interception, maybe the Rams went to won that game. So Jake, going into Seattle on Thursday night, do you think the key again is to pressure Sam Darnold as much as you can and force them to run the ball? Because Seattle has not done a good job running the ball this season. And that's something I've heard a lot of Seahawks fans talk about. They've got 2, in my opinion, pretty good running backs. I like Kenneth Walker. I like Charbonnet. I don't think that they're, top backs in the league, at least right now, but I think that they're pretty talented. And yet Seattle has not been able to figure out how to really get their run game going. So they kind of have to rely on Sam Darnold getting things going through the passing game. Do you think that the number one target is going to be pressuring him again?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at last game, they had 22 pressures. Jared Verse was 7 of them. Charles Cross, of course, was at left tackle against Jared Verse. He is now out. So it's going to be Josh Jones, who body-wise, looks the part, but he's nowhere near as good as Charles Cross. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't like Zach Charbonnet. I don't like his upright running style. I don't think he's one of those guys. He reminds me of Brandon Jacobs. He's probably better, but reminds me of Brandon Jacobs, where you get this big bodied running back and he doesn't really break as many tackles as you would think. I actually think Kenneth Walker is astronomically better as a running back,
I
and
agree.
they tend to use them both. And I don't really understand why, because it's not like you have Kyron and Blake. I mean, they're definitely a tick below. Here's what you don't want. You don't want to use a slower running back in Charbonnet and have to go up against this defense. I mean, I don't know if everybody saw, but Poona Ford literally is a sideline to sideline interior defensive lineman. It's absurd, the range he gets. So I think the Rams are really not going to have an issue stopping the run. I don't even think that will really be in. I don't think that will be in the works there for Seattle. I don't know if they'll be able to really get anything going in the run game. That's when it's going to have to be, you're going to have to be reliant on Sam Darnold. You're going to have to be reliant on the explosives. And that's been something Seattle's done all year. But are the Rams the best team against that? I don't know. Kenneth Walker did have 67 yards on 16 carries last time. Zach Charbonnet had 11 carries for 37. He is an awful matchup against the Rams. So I think if they let Kenneth Walker tote the rock, I mean, that could be different. But at the same time, like right now, I feel really good about the Rams' run defense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be able to get anything going, to be honest with you. So I'm expecting them to try and throw the football, and it's going to be up to the secondary and the pass rush. Can the pass rush get after Darnold? Can they force, some turnovers? One thing I want to point out, Darnold is barely throwing tight window throws like he was earlier in the year. since the Rams game. He's really gone more conservative. You can see it on film. You can see it in the games. So it'll be interesting there for sure. And by the way, I see people in the comment section asking, Akello Witherspoon is likely going to play. I've already been told he'll be active. He wasn't active mainly because they looked at the Cardinal game. They didn't feel like he was totally up to being Akello 100%. So they gave him a week, and they gave him a week because they have a short week, and they see the prize, the eye is on the prize against Seattle. So he will be active. I don't know if Kendrick will, but it is his revenge game, as Takeover brought up. So we'll see. But Alexis, I do think they'll be able to stop the run. As far as the secondary stopping, JSN, I mean, they limited Seattle a decent amount last game. JSN had his 100 yards, but it was like I was saying last time they played Sam Darnold at SoFi Stadium, it was that primetime game, and Justin Jefferson had like 100 plus yards, but they weren't like impactful. Like, you move down the field, yes, but I keep you in front of me. You don't blow up and put 7 on the board or 6 on the board. So I'm expecting this to be a heavy AJ Barner game, dump offs to Barner. I think they're going to get Rashid Shaheed involved in some capacity, and I think we could see more Cooper Kupp than we did because he only had 3 catches for 23 last time. I mean, still a Cooper Kupp revenge game here, and I would not be surprised if they lean on him. They've been leaning on him more as of late, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. I think that Seattle's going to have a really hard time running the ball against this defense. I think, the Rams run defense, as you pointed out, has just been stellar. This is a team, when I was a guest for you last night on NFC West Roundtable.
Killed it.
Thank you. People were talking about, Seattle's just run defense, run offense, how much it's struggled this season. So I don't foresee that improving against a team like the Rams defense, right? If you're already struggling to get your running backs involved, going against a run defense that's just been lights out as of late is not a good outlook for you. So I think they are going to try to get things going through the air. I think they're probably going to target the Rams secondary, which has been a little bit up and down. We've seen some really good games from our corners. We've seen some really bad games from our corners. I don't think Seattle has much of a choice, frankly. I think they're going to have to figure out a way to get things going through the air. And they've obviously got JSN, who's pretty reliable for them. You look at kind of what Detroit was able to do with St. Brown. I think that they're going to try to get that going with JSN as well. But, we'll see. Again, with the elements, you never know. Sometimes it's all right, to get past happy when it's pouring rain like that. Other times it's a nightmare. So we'll see. I foresee that the Seahawks have no choice. I think that you're right. I think they could get Barner involved. The Rams defense has been better against tight ends this season than they have in recent years. But, every once in a while, a la Trey McBride or somebody comes along and can give them fits. So, I think the Rams the key is they're going to have to be able to shut things out in the air, with Seattle. And again, if you can put pressure on Sam Darnold, we know what happens with Sam Darnold when he's pressured against the Rams. So I think that's going to be the key for them. But Jake, our bold predictions. I'll let you go first. We've officially just moved on to 4. This is the inaugural season for 4 bold predictions. For 6 years, we did 3, and then I don't know how we just started getting greedy early this season, and we've decided to stick with it. So your 4 bold predictions.
You know the origin
of the 4? I remember it was you. And you threw in a 4th one. I don't remember which week it was this year, though.
It was that I said the Texans would beat the 49ers.
Oh, that's right.
And they did. So
also, while we're bragging, can I say that I got 2 of 4 predictions right?
Yeah. I'm
week?
glad you remembered because I totally didn't remember.
I went back because, and to be fair, somebody pointed it out to me. So I did go back and look at our predictions, and I did say Kyren Williams 2+ touchdowns against the Lions.
There you go.
He hit two, and then I did say Puka over 100 yards, which definitely didn't feel bold. I don't feel like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
bold. But yeah, I did hit two, and so I wanted to call that out because I told people I would. And yeah, the Puka one, I'm not going to pretend that was super bold, but hey, Kyron, good for Kyron. Prove me right. Um, so no pressure, Jake. No pressure. Going into your four bold predictions, what do you got?
Oh man. I can't believe I'm gonna do this again because I feel like I'm just jinxing him. But there's got to be something coming, right? Everyone's gonna be focused on revenge games. They're gonna be focused on Parkinson. They're gonna be focused on Kendrick. And I get that. They're gonna be focused on Cooper Cup. Kello Witherspoon was traded away by the Seattle Seahawks when he was the best corner in camp because Pete Carroll didn't like the way he looked at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. He wasn't in like this crazy stance, right? He didn't look like a Legion of Boom guy. So they traded him away to the Steelers. He went on having a nice little run with the Steelers before injury derailed him, and then he became a Ram. And he's been with the Rams since 2023. Akello is going to pick off Sam Darnold, and that's the first bold prediction. The second bold prediction is Cam Kinchins absolutely despises the Seahawks for whatever reason. He just always picks them off. He is going to pick off Sam Darnold. It's going to be the same spot that he picked off Sam Darnold, in the same spot he picked off Geno Smith. It's going to be in the end zone. That's two. Number three is that Kyron Williams and Blake Corum are going to combine for 200 total yards. That's it. At 200 total yards. And last but not least, man, doesn't it feel like Jared Verse has been quiet lately? Kind of. I don't know. I feel like he's going to
Yeah.
get 3 sacks in this game.
Ooh, that's a good one. I said two sacks in my for Jared last week, and I was wrong, unfortunately. So I hope that you're right. I hope that you've got the good Jared verse energy this week. Um, but yeah, you took my Blake and Kyron one.
I'm sorry, but we
So
have a red alert, Alexis. Long List just dropped a 2 hundo to
wow.
support downtown Rams. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. That is so kind of you.
I'm a same old sorry ass Ram fan from 1972. Even with 2 Super Bowl wins, the shaken baby syndrome remains. Give me a numb Jake. Tell me it will be okay. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. You know, the Rams are one of those teams. They should have more championships than they do. The fact they didn't even get one in the fearsome foursome Rams Roman Gabriel, era is insane to me. But that said, this is the best Rams team, I believe, in their franchise's history because they might not have the names that everybody looks at. They don't have a Jalen Ramsey, right? They don't have Marshall Faulk. They don't have Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Kurt Warner. But they have their own names. They have, Matthew Stafford. They have Kyron Williams. They have Blake Corum. They have, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and so forth. So the point I'm making here is that when I look at this team, they have more depth than they've ever had. They have the best coaching staff. Sean McVay is smarter than he was back when they won the Super Bowl. He's had a lot of experiences. Matthew Stafford is more wise than he was when they won the Super Bowl, and he's had a lot of experiences, and he's having the best season of his career. I will be stunned if they don't win the Super Bowl. Like, legitimately dumbfounded, because they, in my opinion, are by far the best team in the league, and they're one of the all-time, this is one of the all-time greatest rosters we've ever seen.
Period. Mic drop. There you go. I'm in agreement. This is an amazing Rams team. And I think what's so special about this team is so many of the stars the Rams drafted. If when you look at kind of a lot of the criticism we got the last time we won the Super Bowl about all these, free agents or trades we made,
Mm-hmm.
well, 90%, 85% of the big stars on this team were draft picks by the Rams. And you've obviously got guys like, Devontae Adams, Curl, that you sign. But I mean, the Rams, this Rams team, I feel like what's so special about it is a lot of these are like guys that they took chances on. Like you look at Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua. These were fifth round picks. These were
Yeah.
not people that were projected to be, legendary greats or superstars. And yet you look at what Puka Nacua has been able to do and just the impact that he's had on this team. You look at Kyron Williams, I don't have the stat in front of me, but he's what, Jake, the sixth running back in the history of the NFL to have, I'm going to butcher it. Now I'm nervous, but it's like 10 rushing touchdowns in their first 3 seasons, right? And rush for over 1,000 yards. I mean, you look at just like some of these picks that the Rams were able to make, and I don't know if you're pulling up that stat. I hope you are, because I'm scared that I just totally butchered it. It's just a really special team. So, I think for everybody, if you want to take a look at this Rams team and soak it in, I mean, this is a testament to this front office and this franchise. And I think that, as Jake said, I think that anything short of a Super Bowl for this team would be wasted potential this season. They're too good.
Yeah.
They're too good.
No, it would be a real disappointment. This is the year. I mean, it's weird, but if you look, I mean, what was it, going back to 2016, 2017, maybe 2016. It was every single year has been the Chiefs or the Rams have won their respective division.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it, but Chiefs are eliminated. So typically when the Chiefs get eliminated, well, that's
Also, I want to correct myself because I do not like spreading misinformation.
good on you, because that's not everybody else.
Well, I know that's so I do want to correct myself on the Kyron Williams stat. He just needs 63 yards and 2 more touchdowns to become the fifth running back ever with at least 1,300 scrimmage yards and 15 touchdowns in 3 consecutive seasons. He would join Sean Alexander, Terrell Davis, Emmitt Smith, and LaDainian Tomlinson. Shout out to Blaine Grisack for tweeting that out today. So I do want to correct myself. But yeah, I mean, just not just him. I mean, you look at Puka Nacua, this offensive line that stepped up, like Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Byron Young. Like, these are all Rams draft picks. So believe the hype, guys. Believe the hype.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
A good stat poll. I was going to pull the whole, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 3 straight 10 touchdown seasons. Only Derrick Henry and Kyron Williams have done that. So
Yeah.
it's almost like he's actually really fucking good at playing running back.
He is. He is. And he's very, very underrated. And I think a lot of the criticism of him is unfair. And people know how we feel about that.
Always has been. He has 1 fumble this year. The other fumble that they put in his box score or whatever, it wasn't on him. So
No, it wasn't. And then you look at all the other running backs in the NFL that have just superseded him in fumbles, and yet his haters will say that he has a fumbling problem.
yeah, how many does was it Dalvin Cook? Or not Dalvin Cook, James Cook.
James Cook, oh my gosh.
James Cook has like 6, right? And everyone
Yeah.
talks like you notice how no one mentions James Cook fumbles. And I love James Cook. I think he's so
I do
fun to
too.
watch. He has 6 on the year.
Yeah.
No one has talked about it. Nobody.
Well, I think that, well, people know what we think about the Kyron Williams fumble discourse.
Yeah, well,
But,
I mean, I'm just saying. That's-
anyways, Kyron Williams could be breaking a big record tomorrow night, potentially.
Yeah.
So
I don't
we'll see.
think I would not call Alexis a ginger. And I just have a ginger beard. I wouldn't say I'm a ginger either.
I am not even
This is
close to
mutant.
ginger.
I'm part of the X-Men. This is a mutation. This is my dad doesn't have this. Obviously, my mom doesn't. my brother doesn't. Like, nobody in my family has this. This is just a mutation.
But you're like pretty Irish though, right?
Yeah, that's
So
probably
that's
where it comes
somewhere, maybe.
from. But like, I've never seen anybody in my family have this. Actually, there's one. My cousin Jonathan on my dad's side, not Irish. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, I am deeply brunette. So, so, yeah. But
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for the super chat. That's
Appreciate you.
really, really nice. Appreciate you.
That is a wow, what a good show. Doesn't matter what happens from here on out. $250 in super chats from one person is a good feeling.
Hell yeah.
Jose. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get to these. Alexis still has to go. I just had a red alert because we don't normally get $200 super chats. Alexis, you have the floor.
Okay, so you know what? We just talked about the Kyron Williams record. I'm gonna say he gets 2 touchdowns against Seattle. He played really, really good against Seattle earlier in the season. McVay abandoned the run game, unfortunately. He would have run for probably over 150 yards. Or he was on pace for like 200 yards that game at one point. So I'm going to say Kyron Williams gets his 2 touchdowns and gets his 63 yards that he needs to break that crazy record this Thursday night against Seattle. So let's say that's my first prediction. My second prediction, I'm going to say it. We're going to get a Terrence Ferguson touchdown. I need it so bad.
I mean, it's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
He's open.
He's open. He did have that one, that ended up not counting against the Lions, but he was fouled, so we ended up moving to the 1 yard line. So it wasn't entirely his fault, and he tried to make kind of the helmet catch, but I think we're gonna get it. Ferguson's been open a lot. As we talked about earlier, the Rams have started to trust him a lot more because he's been blocking so much better. So we see him out in the field. I think he was out in the field 72% of offensive snaps last game. I saw that stat from Nate Atkins. So
his snaps are starting to increase.
He's increasing a lot. They like having him out there. I think now that the blocking's down, they're going to start trying to using him a lot more in the receiving game. So let's say Terrence Ferguson touchdown. Now defense, I'm going to say we're going to see a Cameron Kinchins pick 6.
Okay.
I had that in my brain, and then you almost took it when you were giving your predictions. When you had interception, and I was like, please don't say Cam Kinchins pick 6, because you're right. He has this edge about him with Seattle. So I think
just hates that bird. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
He sees that helmet sticker and he's like, I need to kill you.
You know why? He's jealous because he's a ball hawk. So he sees the hawk on the helmet and he says, that's me. That's me. Well, so he's gonna be a ball hawk this game. Get the pick 6 against Seattle. And then you know what? Let's think of a fun special teams prediction. I'm going to say blocked kick for a touchdown. I think the Rams are going to block a kick and run it back for a touchdown.
Man, that's
my fun one. That's my fun little bold prediction. Not little prediction. That's actually a big prediction. But I like to throw one in there that's crazy because every time we do that, like there's like one a season that we hit. Remember, like you would block punt.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mark Sanchez won't be calling that one anytime soon. Remember, he called the block punt.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be, I'm going to try to hit it. I'm going to try to hit the crazy one this week. Let's say blocked kick returned for a touchdown. So yeah, those are my 4. We'll see if I hit them. Another
red alert. I don't know.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, long list. All love Rams, LFG. Alexis isn't a ginger. 4'8" doesn't make you a ginger. Sorry. You're 4'8"? No way.
I'm not 4'8".
I was going to say, you're like 5'3".
I'm just under 5'4", but I say 5'4" because I'm 5'3" and like 3/4. So it's just easier.
Okay.
So I'm 5'4".
I'm 5'8". No one is 4'8" here.
I'm not 4'8". I'm just short. So
yeah, I was like, I don't think you're 4'8", but like maybe you went around and told people you were. So like, I don't know, maybe you shrunk the last time I saw you. It's been a while. So
no,
certainly possible. We're getting older. I have gray hair now. So
I don't have gray hair, but I have been 5'4" since I've been 16.
Well, apparently
I've been the same height.
You don't have gray hair, but you're shrinking, according to this.
Apparently, I look like I'm 4'8".
Yeah, it'd be
So
like that. I don't know.
yeah, it'd be like that. But Jake,
It'd be like that.
we still got to predict our score.
We do. And then we got super chats, and then we have a word from Sleeper. So my score is 30-24. I just feel really good about this game. I didn't initially. I had Seattle winning, and then I saw Blake Corum's kind of emergence in this offense and how I know he's not going to have it on the year. And I'm not saying that I would have done this and taken away those reps from Kyron, but had they started off like this, Blake Corum probably is over 1,000. So is Kyron. And you can't find another running back room that has that, you know? So yeah, they're freakish right now. And it's not just them, of course. It is the run game, you know, the run blocking department with that offensive line that is just so good right now.
Shout out.
Yeah, they're just
Deserved.
the big uglies, as we call them, as they call them, but we love them. We've always
We
been
used to pray for times like this.
Yeah, we've always this has been a pro offensive line podcast. I mean, we've interviewed some of the good ones coming out of college. So yeah, you know, I mean, well, that's all I can really say. If you're looking for, you know, a podcast that doesn't give credit to offensive line and focuses more on the fantasy aspect of running backs, then this is not your podcast. That's all I got.
All right. You guys ready to hear my score?
Mm-hmm.
I think the Rams are going to win 31-24.
Oh, so we have almost identical scores.
Yeah. I said earlier I'm predicting the 2 Kyron touchdowns. I think Stafford is going to throw for 2 as well. And then we'll, see a field goal get in there. But yeah, I feel good about it. I don't think, I know that it is going to be pouring rain. But I just think the way that this offense is moving right now, and because we are so successful on the ground, that we're going to be able to consistently score. So, I think 31-24, Seattle as well is, I think they're going to have some success, right? I think it'd be disingenuous to say, oh, Seattle's not going to be able to get anything done. I mean, no, it's a very good offense. They've had a lot of success this year. They're at home in Seattle. So, yeah, I think that they're going to probably be able to, I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words. They're going to be able to score. But I feel good about the Rams. I feel like they have positive momentum. I feel like they have Sam Darnold's number. And because they've been able to figure things out on the ground, I think they're going to be able to have a balanced offense and win the game. But who knows? It is going to be raining. I mean, if the rain is as insane as it can get and how there's a potential for it to get, maybe it completely turns into a defensive battle and I'm wrong.
And that
But
feels more like a Kyron game than a Blake Corum quick stabbing your cleats into the wet ground type of game. I don't know. It's
well,
just
yeah, if it gets that bad, then I think they, when they go to the run game, they go more to those inside runs with Kyron. But if it's just like a light, a light rain that isn't
that's
just
probably what it'll
absolutely
be.
torrential, and that's what I'm thinking it's going to be, then I think they'll be fine. I don't think it should affect things too much. So,
So we got back to back. Thank you for the 2 thoughts on the
thank you.
Puka online controversy. So we're not TMZ, so we're not gonna get super into it. But I would just say I don't love the timing. I think it's tone deaf. Yeah, I just like
Yeah.
if you want to hang out with your favorite streamer, and I'm not talking about like I'm just saying in general, right? We're not going to get into what the guy believes in or whatever, right? You want to hang out with your favorite streamer, fine, but like, why do you don't bring up things Sean McVay told you in private? Don't bring up the referees. Don't make Thursday harder than it has to be. I think that's how I would say it, and I think whether it's fair or not for referees to have a bias after that, we'll never know if they will or not. After seeing that, maybe now they're looking for him more, and it would look pretty obvious at that point. So, look, I don't like the referees either, Puka, but I don't have to see them face to face every single week. So, yeah,
I agree. I think it puts your team in a bad spot and it brings unwanted attention now to your team. Um, that's not okay and not asked for. And I think, after the live stream in the locker room, where you can hear his teammates clearly telling him to stop doing that, and he says, "I'm not," and he is, and we're all watching it. And then to now say the thing about the referees, it's been a pretty bad week. And so yeah, aside from who he was streaming with, and everybody's going to have their thoughts on that, I think, to basically say my coach told me no, I'm doing it anyway after the live stream in the locker room, that's something I think that the Rams internally are going to have to figure out. So that's really my thought. Um, but you know what? I don't know. Like I don't, people are like, "Oh, is it going to affect Thursday?" I don't know.
I I don't
I don't
know.
think I don't think in the grand scheme of things in terms of gameplay, no, I don't think that that's going to cause him to have a bad game Thursday because he did a stream. I think it's all the other stuff, and then again the referee comments and putting that attention on your team in a way that's unfair. I think that's the problem, not, oh, he'll be unfocused Thursday night because he did a stream. I don't think that is true, but and that's just my opinion. I think it's the outside stuff.
Well, it's the
So,
biggest thing is that they literally told him not to do it,
and he
and he
did, yeah,
did it
exactly.
anyway. So, which like, wow,
Yeah.
you got turned down by Rams PR too, But
Yeah,
to
don't
be
say
fair,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
we're
Um,
we're not uh we're not exactly on that level. We'll just say we're just having good conversation, you
yep.
know. But no, Alexis, I think the final thing I'll say about it is that I understand this is where we're headed. We're seeing now athletes more and more. I believe Giannis and LeBron were hanging out with like Kai Cenat. Also, another like why throw Kai Cenat under the bus? That was ridiculous too. But
Taylor Swift.
Taylor's it's just it's ridiculous. But
I thought it, and let me just say, I don't mean to interrupt you. The Taylor Swift comment, I think is a little dramatic, but like it was just funny. It was funny to me to be like, oh my God, how did he also manage to insult Taylor Swift in the same live stream?
it was, and
I don't
then
agree with
like
this comment,
the
but like,
Chargers being little brothers, like let the fans
yeah,
feel that way. Don't whatever. But anyway,
yeah,
I understand we're going down the road where these athletes are going to be on these shows. Mookie Betts is on the same show tonight. Mookie
hmm,
Betts, World Series champion. I understand. Also, these athletes are paid out the wazoo, mainly because these streamers have so much money that they can pay them, and then they just write it off as a business expense because they're part of the show. But I guess my thing is Mookie Betts is doing it after the season.
yeah,
Puka Nakua is doing it literally on a short week
hmm,
in the middle of the season. You have 17 guaranteed games, as Sean McVay always says. Now you have the playoffs. I get that. Yeah. And I'll say this, as long as Puka Nakua continues to play at the level he can play at and just continue to look like the best in the world at what he does, then it's not going to be a big deal, and it is what it is. But keep in mind, now he's putting a target on his back in more than one way. So
yeah,
I personally wouldn't do that. I remember, was it JJ Watt said, I have no time for girls as long as I'm in the NFL. I can date when I get out. Like some guys are just rock solid, and I'm not saying you have to be that way, but it's just a reminder. Some guys are rock solid. They look at this as a profession. And some guys are like, yeah, I'm freaking good at this. And I, can kind of do whatever I want because I'm that good. And yeah.
timing is everything.
Yep.
To wrap it up, timing and choosing a time and place to do certain things matters.
Had he done this in like April during the draft,
Yeah,
no one gives a shit.
exactly.
So I don't know. Maybe who he did it with, but that's not the point. The point is like the timing. Like to your point,
Yeah.
it doesn't really at that point. If you did it in April versus doing it, 11-3 versus 11-3. He better tear it up, and I believe he's going to. But I think
Yeah.
it's the criticism is fair, and
Yeah.
I don't want to get too TMZ on this show, but yeah, the criticism is definitely fair.
Yeah.
Jose, thank you for the 5. Should we be worried about Puka turning diva, trying to stream at the team facility on a short week, going live in the locker room? I think it's also, a point to bring up. It is hard to grow up in this league. A lot of guys struggle with this. And, I think Puka's still young. And, whether I believe I would do that or not, it's not really up to me. I've never been around that much money, right? And so, he's going to be 25 in May. He's 24 years old, guys. He's still a young buck, and yeah, it's just I personally wouldn't have done what he did, but hey, you live and you learn.
I think that going forward, he is aware of what this has caused. And that is important to get across. If people are, he is chronically online. I mean, listen, he's going on these live streamers.
Might be the best thing for him, by the way. If this is what he needed to get out of that, then this was great.
And that's the thing, is how he behaves after this week will be an indication of, he knows the reaction, and he was told not to do something that he did, and he has seen the public response to that thing. And also the locker room live stream, which in my opinion is in a way worse.
It's definitely worse. I would say
that video, if you got it, that was disheartening. So again, he knows, and so after this week, I think that discussion can be had. But I think right now is like there can't be blanket statements made. There was some bad choices that were made, and we'll see. But again, we'll see how he plays tomorrow night. I don't think that, I'm not concerned about his on the field gameplay tomorrow.
Yeah, so, no, I'm not either.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's been an unfortunate week, and we'll see.
And what's good with the 5? Hey, Alexis and Jake, if the playoffs started right now, how would the road to the Super Bowl be for the NFC and AFC, as in who would lose and advance? I was just saying this with Brandon, and I'm going to be honest with you. There are 4 teams that I genuinely see going to the Super Bowl, okay? And that's the Rams, the Seahawks, the Eagles, and the Bills. The Bills, that AFC is theirs to lose, in my opinion. It just is. Because you get into the playoffs and there's not a quarterback that has the experience to go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. The only one you could say is Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers does not have a lot around him. That Steelers team, Alexis, I don't know about you, but they've been very disappointing in my eyes. I'd never picked them. I don't think I've picked them. I've picked them once this year against the Dolphins. But for the most part, I haven't been confident in them. It's really him. And then you're looking at Trevor Lawrence. He has a game of experience. Justin Herbert. Drake May's never played in the playoff game before. Bo Nix. He has one playoff game under his belt, but yeah, I gotta be honest. I think it's the Bills' AFC to lose at that point.
I agree.
The Texans, that's the one thing I will say, and CJ Stroud has some experience. The Texans' defense is a Super Bowl defense. To me, let's put it this way. The team in the Super Bowl will be wearing red, white, and blue. I feel confident in saying that.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think, the NFC, as you said earlier in the show, I feel like it's the Rams to lose, personally.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think, but, I do think, if you see a team like the Seahawks or, the Eagles, right, get in there, that would make sense. But I really do feel that the Rams are the best team in the NFC. So.
Yeah, and I still say the Eagles are in there because the Chiefs already died in the AFC. They're dead. And they're eliminated, and that was the AFC champions. Until you beat the champs, they're still the defending champs.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are just one of those teams, they can just kind of stick around and I understand the biggest point about the Eagles is that they have to be hosting, and they're not going to. This is either going to be in, whether people agree with me or not, it's either going to be at SoFi, Lumen, or at Levi Stadium. The Eagles will not take the number 1 seed. I just don't think they can get the number 1 seed. So it's going to be one of those 3 teams. And I got to be honest, 49ers don't get any pressure. I don't trust Brock Purdy. I don't know. I don't really. If the 49ers got the 1 seed, you tip your cap and say, wow, I can't believe you did it with all the injuries and everything. You deserve a lot of credit. At the same time, that would be the easiest pick for me to see a team get upset. That team would get upset. No doubt about it. Oh, should he get the Lamb first drive benching? Nah, it's kind of stupid. It just hurts your team. I don't really see the point of it. It's like, remember when Baker Mayfield got suspended for a half and like Oklahoma was like, it was 7-7. And then he came out in the second half and they won 49-7. It was so stupid.
I think the only reason that would happen is the open defiance comment. Kind of like, I was told not to do something, I'm doing it anyway. But I'll be honest, because it's a short week and we are playing the Seahawks, that absolutely has an influence on anything I think that happens.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it would be a different situation if we were going out there and playing the Browns on Sunday at 3:00, right? I don't think that this is a situation where I think the way that this is going to be handled, I think is different. Than it would be, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
And I think the only reason that would even be considered, like, I don't think that would be because of the ref comment. I think that would be the kind of talking about private conversations you had with your coach and what happened there.
Yeah,
but I don't
didn't
think
like
it will
that.
happen. Yeah.
But it'll be dealt with internally. We know that.
Yeah. Yep. And guys, it's game day tomorrow. But first, we have a word from Sleeper.
Which means you should head on over to Sleeper. Link is in the description below. And be sure to use the code JKB. Get a 100% bonus match up to $100 using that code. And get in on the action with the $20 free entry. That is just sitting there. We went to LA and my dad just had the $20 just sitting there in his account. He's like, oh, look what I found. Like, you know, so... Hey, could be just sitting there if you haven't already used it. Maybe you think you did, but you don't know for sure. Check it out over on the Sleeper app, best app. And don't just take my word for it. Alexis and I have our Dynasty IDP Fantasy League on there and a lot of fun. Neither of us made the playoffs somehow. I don't know what happened. You actually finished ahead of me for the first time. You did, the tiebreaker. You had more total points. I had ridiculous injuries this year. It was insane.
I'm not in the playoffs though.
No.
So I'm playing for the number 1 pick now.
You, me, and Peak tied at 12 and 14, and we all missed the playoffs. And I think my father went to the championship game to play Ryan. So, yeah, once again trying to repeat my dad. He's good. Lamar Jackson was terrible. Joe Mixon, I don't know what happened. Maybe he doesn't have a foot anymore. We have no idea. I've never seen a foot injury cost you the entire season without coming out and saying it was a Liz Frank injury. Ever. I've never seen that. Yeah, I lost Tyreek Hill on like the first game of the year.
Yeah.
There's so many injuries. Fred Warner, that was brutal. JOK with the neck injury. Yeah, he had a neck injury. There was just so many injuries. I was so pissed. But anyway. So yeah, check out Sleeper. Again, JKB is the code. And we got one more super chat there.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the 10. This is the game. I think injury is the only thing that can potentially keep the Rams from the NFC Championship. I've said it, and you know, I like to believe, I don't know for sure, but I like to believe if push came to shove and say, you know, Stafford wasn't able to play in the NFC title game, but he'd be ready for the Super Bowl, Sean McVay would find a way to win that game with Jimmy Garoppolo in this run game and this offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, and I hope I never have to find out, but I like to believe that if that was the case, Jimmy, who's gone to the Super Bowl before, right? He's won an NFC championship before. I think he could do it. And I think Sean McVay could navigate that. So,
Well, hopefully we don't have to find out.
like I said, I don't want to know.
But guys, we will be watching with you all tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Rams playing in prime time against the Seattle Seahawks. Should be a very good game, one that we are expecting the Rams to win, but nevertheless, we'll be watching and with our own eyes, hoping that happens. Against a division rival, it always feels like the stakes are higher. But as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter/X at the Alexis Craft. You can follow Jake at JK Bogan. I am also on Instagram at Alexis Craft. Jake is also on Instagram at JK Bogan. And guys, we will be back most likely Friday night, recapping the game against the Seahawks, and we'll probably be doing a doubleheader. We'll talk about it, previewing as well the Atlanta game because the holidays are coming up. I am traveling back to St. Louis. Jake's busy as well, so we've got holiday schedule where we got to try and figure out when to record and make things happen in the midst of traveling. But guys, hope everyone has a blast tomorrow night watching the game. We'll be back, but as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.